Hi, Patrick.
Hi, guys. Thanks so much for taking the time to chat. Congrats on the film. So exciting to see you again on screen after a few years. I know that you both got to meet with Lorraine while the film was being developed, the first film was being developed, and that Ed had passed away before everything had kind of picked up. And Patrick, I kind of wondered have you ever thought about like if there was a time that you felt maybe Ed's presence around or felt like maybe you had a sign from him? Like, is there one thing that you wish you could say to him or ask him?
Man, I've never thought of that because I just look at everything like right in front of me. I don't think about, oh, if I only had the chance. I think I would be so nervous at this point because I feel like I've crafted my own version of him in my head that I wouldn't want him to screw up my, it's like when you meet like a rock star, you're sort of like, I want to meet you, but I kind of don't because you may totally blow it for me, No, I would love, that would be super fun. I would love to just drill him about the smallest little things that no one would ever notice, like I always carried a knife in my pocket or something like that's cool, something like, which he probably did actually, now that I think about it. He seems like one of those guys.
But if all he does is show up at the end of filming something and like just gives you a thumbs up, you'd be like, all right, that's it. That's all I need.
Sometimes it's all you need. Good job, kid. Thank you.
And Vera, since you first played Lorraine, it's been like almost a decade now. You've played her a few times. It's clear how much you both respect the Warren family and everything they did. And outside of like the career opportunities that the films have presented you, I wondered for you, what do you think about playing Lorraine has changed the most about your own personal life, your own philosophy, your emotions?
Well, I don't. Look, I love the story because to me it's a story about compassion, and it is a love story. Like I think that from a philosophic perspective, like there's the film has a real philosophic. It's a philosophic music on the nature of love, and that means agape, which is unconditional God love. I mean, eros, romantic love, storge, empathy love, by nature of what they did. Philia, friend love, by virtue of, the people that they grew to love and people they tried to help. I don't know. The whole thing is super, I don't know. I don't know. It always, I suppose, it always, look, every time, this is one of these projects that, right, it's different than other characterizations where you actually have to consider the spiritual wellness and well-being of the character that you're playing. It's a whole other dimension of what to consider character-wise. And I love that. It makes me look at myself, it makes me look at, whatever your concept of God, like how does that negativity, how does that enter the equation of your life, right? All these like, I don't know, this is stuff that is a part of my.
Congrats on the film, guys. Very spooky stuff. You looked like you were having fun, but not too much fun, if you know what I mean. Ruairi, I wondered, with all of the things that you had to experience in this movie, did you find the experience of filming more physically taxing or more emotionally overwhelming?
I think the most salient part now, or the bit I'm probably dealing with most with my therapist, is probably the physical demands. Like I was tied to that bed or handcuffed to the bed for 4 days. We actually did 2 shootings of handcuffed bed scenes. And so I had to trash about, I can't even say it, trash about?
Thrash, you're good, yeah.
The Irish THs and our Ts are so swapping outable. Anyway, thrashing about, and my forearms are very skinny and slight normally, but they were huge. They looked like I'd been at the gym for 10 years on steroids, but it was just swelling. And then the tears become real and the screams become real. And you're just so thankful because it's so much easier when there's a visceral thing to respond to. But it was a lot of icing of the wrists after to bring them back to a normal size, or slightly less than normal size, I guess, as my forearm size.
Well, I hope Sarah Catherine's not your therapist the way she laughed at you for saying that.
I know, I'm like laughing at his pain. I'm not his therapist.
Well, and for you, Sarah Catherine, I wondered if when you approached this project, if there was a different responsibility or weight that you felt, knowing that this is grounded in real life, inspired by true events, and that you're playing a real person who saw, her partner undergoing these awful things.
Yeah, I actually didn't. So there was a lot of pressure for many reasons, but the pressure of playing a real person, specifically Debbie Glatzel, someone who I didn't know and someone who no one knows it, that kind of pressure wasn't there because I didn't feel like I needed to mimic her voice or just completely embody her as a person. Because she's obviously also written very differently in the script. And I think Ruairi would say the same with his interpretation of Arnie as well. Like, we were playing real people, but we had a different approach to it, I think. But I will say, I developed a really lovely relationship with the real Debbie Glatzel and gained a lot of insight from her perspective of the whole event and everything. So her retelling all of that to me did help out a lot with my process and my journey, for sure.
And lastly, I'll let you both answer, and we'll start with Sarah Catherine. The Conjuring is such a series that's so iconic. Is there another horror series that you would love to take part in, either because you love it or because you're afraid of it?
That's such a good question. I've only done horror, honestly. Right now I'm filming a vampire show, so that feels very horror adjacent. So then there isn't a particular one out there for me, but I have no doubt that it will happen. But I do love, I really loved Midsummer, and I know that's a different type of horror than this, right. But the Ari Aster films I think are brilliant and very just disgusting. So that'd be cool to do something like that.
And Ruairi?
I just watched Scream 1 again last night, and I've killed to be in that film. It's so good. But also I watched Funny Games as well recently, and also love true crime. Only Murders. I think Funny Games, maybe I'd like to be in, if Michael Haneke is going to make a third version of Funny Games,
a third remake.
I'll do it in Irish or something. We'll get that market. That's my dream.
Michael, thanks so much for taking the time to chat.
Patrick, hello. Thanks.
When James Wan picks you to direct the third Conjuring film, how much of your reaction is, holy crap, this is a vote of confidence, versus holy crap, this is a lot of pressure to live up to?
Honestly, it was a mix, just like the movie itself. It was a mix of absolute thrill and absolute terror. I love this series. And I am a huge fan of James. I'm a huge fan of his movies beyond The Conjuring, and I love this franchise. So coming into it, I took it as honestly one of the greatest compliments, the greatest honors, but without a doubt, a huge responsibility.
What I loved about the film is the ways that obviously you honored the series, but also had Easter eggs to The Shining and The Exorcist and those sorts of things. Were there any Easter eggs or references that you really wanted to include but had to cut because they were maybe a little too on the nose or would distract you from the movie?
Yes, there was. It's funny. I don't know if I can actually say it because it's not a horror movie, but there was a sequence that I had in it near the end of the movie. And unfortunately, it would just be so filled with spoilers that I couldn't quite reveal it. But there was, I'd pivot and say that 100% this movie is filled with a deep love of horror cinema. I think that from the very beginning, if you look at the very first Conjuring movie, it is the definitive haunted house movie, but it is also in itself a love letter to other when we got into the exorcism and some of the other things that we explore in this movie, there's obviously some great films that I owe a huge debt towards, and beyond just the Conjuring movies. And so there's, without a doubt, those winks and nods. At the same time, I'm really proud that there is still an element of the unexpected. There's still surprises in it. And I so wish I could answer your question, but it would flat out give away one of the final moments of the film.
And you've done La Llorona. Now you've done the Conjuring film. Going forward, would you do 10 more Conjuring films, or do you think, you've done 2 films in this series already that you kind of like to look towards doing, an original movie or another franchise that you'd even like to get involved in?
Yeah, I'd love an original movie. I think that it's been interesting and cool to work on La Llorona, which is essentially an original movie based on folklore. And with this, that established characters, established story, each of them requires a different muscle. And I think that there's really benefits of both. There's something really fun about being able to surprise people, to take people's expectations, good or bad, and spin it on its head. And I think that that's something that you can do with franchises. Of course, whenever you're working in a franchise, it's hard because people love these things. That's why we keep on making these movies, and being able to surprise people while still honor their expectations is very tricky. And I think that the few directors who can do that, I have a tremendous amount of respect for them.
Well, thanks so much, Michael. I really appreciate it. And we'll catch up on June 4th to get all into the spoilers of that one thing you can't reveal just yet.
I would love to, seriously.
Thanks so much.